everyone, Felice Gerwitz here, and I want to share with you something that is dear to my heart, and that is saving you money. Can you use encouragement for your homeschool journey? Have you been searching for an online learning program designed to ground your family in a Christian worldview? Well, now you can at MediaAngelsMembership.com. Our affordable membership packages fit your budget and busy life. Now you can access customized membership packages for your homeschooling family from the extensive Media Angels library of books, classes, and Bible studies. You may select the ebook bundle, the creation bundle, the premium bundle, or the forever bundle. Each bundled set will save you vast amounts of money. Our packages begin at less than $10, and you can use it for the whole family. So go to MediaAngelsMembership.com for more information. That's MediaAngelsMembership.com. You'll be glad you did.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Moms Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at MediaAngels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hi, friends, and welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz with an episode of Vintage Homeschool Moms. And you can find today's show notes on the website. And also, today we are going to be talking to a guest that has been on Vintage Homeschool Moms before, and that's Paola Brown. Paola, it is a pleasure to have you, and today we're going to discuss literature-based curriculum for teaching natural health. Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me, Felice.
Well, I am so excited because your book is now out and available, and for those of you who want to hear the previous episode, it was episode 394 on Vintage Homeschool Moms, and we talked on that episode about simple ways to teach health and homeopathy to kids, and so we discussed your curriculum, but one of the things I wanted to talk about today, Paola, is you've got 3 kids you homeschool, and you are living currently outside of the U.S., so that's kind of exciting, and so you decided to go the natural route when you had some illnesses that just were not being resolved with conventional medicine. So share about that.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with multiple autoimmune diseases. One was called dermography. I felt like I had a bucket of ants poured all over my body, and I was just itching. If I moved, I would itch. If I laid perfectly still, I wouldn't itch. I was bedridden for months. It was a really difficult time. I also was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis. It's a bladder condition, just chronic bleeding. The Mayo Clinic said my condition is about the quality of life of someone undergoing chemotherapy. And it was a really difficult time. I was having a very hard time. I flew to the Mayo Clinic, spent a few weeks there, flew all over the country trying to find help. And I finally realized, you know what? Conventional medicine doesn't have great options for me. Felice, they wanted me to start, they wanted to give me a pill that might make all my hair fall out. They wanted to cut the nerve to my bladder. Another option they said is we can give you painkillers, but you'd have to join a support group for the addiction you're going to develop. And I thought, oh my gosh. I mean, at the time I only had 2 kids. I didn't even have my third. How, my liver isn't going to last long enough for me to be a grandma if I start now, with all these medications. Wow. It's a really hard time. So then I walked away from conventional medicine. I'm going to find another way. And I did really great treatments, acupuncture, chiropractic, herbal things, and all kinds of other stuff. And they all helped a little bit, but it wasn't until I found homeopathy that it was just like a slam dunk. It really, really helped. It was a game changer. I went from just small bits of progress to just leaps and bounds. Within a year, I was totally symptom-free. You're not supposed to say the cured word, but I was cured. I was 100% better from all these conditions, and live back to living a robust life. And so I think it's really important, today medications are thrown at us, and we really need to have just options on our hands. I'm not saying there's no time for conventional medicine. There is a time for that, but you've got to have options. If you don't have options, you're going to be stuck with the one choice. And sometimes that choice isn't the best one. So.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I'm so interested in this is because, similar to you, medicine makes me sick. So it didn't work for me, and some of the things that I went through. And, I had my last 3 children, late 30s, early 40s. So obviously in really good shape and health to be able to, sustain pregnancies and, have kids that are A students in college and beyond. And so, a lot of it, like one of the things the doctor said to me is, most people your age are not this healthy. And a lot of it, I'm Italian, so a lot of it is we didn't do cans. Everything was, my dad, even when he lived with us the last 11 years of his life, I mean, he'd go to the grocery store just about every day. You had to go get fresh produce. And so that's how I was brought up, and I know you were too. And so, it's just a different way of living than what we see today, that so many people, are into the fast food. And again, I think moms are an exception, especially homeschool moms. We try really hard to work on healthy eating. But today we're talking about, we got a little segue there, but the literature-based curriculum is what you have come out with. And so share with us those aspects. So you have a novel, but you have more than just that. So share each of the parts of your curriculum.
Well, I think you made a really important point, just real quick about,
Sure.
Our parents knowing so much. That's the point of this curriculum, is that, we have knowledge from our parents, especially our grandparents, about how to, just simply sometimes waiting out an illness and just not jumping to the antibiotics and the drugs. And I realized that at some point, from my mom to me, in our previous podcast, I talk about how my mom used to have a homeopathy kit. And when we were immigrants, when my dad graduated college and got a real job, she threw it out because we got real medical insurance. And I realized that there was a disconnect between what my mom knew and then passing it on to me, and even just her kind of understanding how homeopathy in particular was an important part. And that's what this curriculum is all about. It's about reconnecting with our past, learning about, natural medicine, natural health, specifically homeopathy. We spend a long time in that, so that our children can have this skill set. And this curriculum, it has 3 parts. It's called Teach Me Health and Homeopathy. And it's a 3-part curriculum, literature-based, to help you create an environment with your family to learn natural health. And I really think, Felice, that if you do not have health, health is wealth. It really is. If you do not have your health, you have nothing. So here we are educating our kids about math and writing and all these wonderful things. And if we do not teach them how to defend and guard their health, we have not given them one of the most important things in life. And I have not seen another curriculum out there like this. So I have the first book in the Teach Me Health and Homeopathy curriculum set. The first book is Evie and the Secret of Small Things. And it's a little cute girl named Evie who gets visited by Grandma for the big family reunion. And everybody gets the flu, except Grandma actually gets over it a lot quicker than everyone else does. And she has all these skills and tools to help people get through the flu. And so that piques Evie's interest. She's wondering, how is it that my grandmother knows about these things, and how can I learn it as well? And so that's the first book. That's the literature book.
Very cool. And then there is other things that go with it. So you have a teacher's guide as well.
Yeah, so then there's the second book. It's the teacher's manual. And, I have made it as open and go as possible. It's like lesson 1, open it and read the first chapter in Evie and the Secret of Small Things. And then, keep your kids busy with a little art project that connects to the reading. Lesson 2, you take the message from the literature and you have a couple of lessons about it, So then lesson 4, it goes back, read another chapter from the book. So it's like open the curriculum, and I'm going to tell you step by step how to do this. What I also like about the teacher's manual is that, some teachers' manuals, if you don't do everything, it's kind of like you don't get the whole thing. I have a lot of opportunities for you to say, you know what, we're going to pass on that. We're going to skip to this next section, so it's really, really flexible for you. And there's a lot of hands-on activities, but I know how busy moms are, and I've made the big ones, the big hands-on activities, I've made videos of those, so you can just watch the video instead. So there's that whole online membership component. And so I'm a busy mom. I run a nonprofit organization. I have my kids. I have this work for my business, busy, busy, busy. And I have written it in a way that the busiest of moms can achieve the goals in this curriculum, which is to help your kids. Then there's the workbook. The workbook is leveled for 3 groups: the younger ages, which is 1st through 3rd grade-ish; the middle ages, which is 4th through 8th, kind of a smarter 4th grader through 8th, and then 9th through 12th. So you can teach one lesson to your kids, and then you just give one assignment to the young ones, another one to the middle ones, and another one to the older ones. And it's leveled appropriately for them to do the same assignment at the same time, just different degrees of understanding. And I worked really hard with a team of curriculum designers to help me, level this appropriately. So I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. I was able to work on the novel extensively with you, and that was super fun. And as I shared in the last episode, I finally understood homeopathy, which I've used for many years. But some of the language and, that is assumed, that you're going to understand when they talk about it, really made sense when you presented it in the novel form. And I think that's what makes literature-based curriculums so easy to use, especially as a focus in your family, because the book is really, it appeals to younger children as well as the adults. And share how you did that and why you did that.
There's this quote I read by Mark Twain, and it says, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't think I have it exactly right, but no book is worth reading at 6 that isn't also worth reading at 96. And that really spoke to me. I love books. I can't stand boring books, to read to my kids. I love books that I enjoy and they enjoy. And that is when I wrote my book, I like to say that I envisioned like a family was like an imaginary family was in the room with me. I had a 6-year-old, I had an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 16-year-old. I had the skeptical dad who sometimes isn't super open to natural medicine, right? I had the mom there. And so I wrote this book thinking of everybody in mind. And what I like about this book is a 6-year-old is going to understand it. They may not understand everything. And you know how 6-year-olds are, sometimes they'll tune out and come back in, but they're going to get a lot of it. And as they get older and they re-engage with the text, they're going to get a little bit more and a little bit more. And that 6-year-old, when she becomes a mom, she's going to love this book because it's all going to connect to the world around her with her kids, right? So
Right.
I'm really proud of making a book that is a read-aloud story for the entire family from ages 6 to 96.
Right. And then you also have the music and the Audible as well, which is going to, it's actually someone who's going to read that book. One of the things I wanted to say was, how in Adventures in Odyssey, for those of you that love that series as much as I do, one of the appeals to that, as well as Disney, whether you love it or hate it, their audios as far as Adventures in Odyssey or the movies as far as Disney goes appeal to several levels. So there would be something that the parents might laugh at, and I know when we were listening to Adventures in Odyssey, we would laugh at something and the kids kind of looked at you, and they would obviously laugh at the things that were very kid appropriate. And so there's different levels in those things that are very highly regarded, and the same in your book. There are things that caused me to cringe, when you were talking about, some of the, I think there's that chicken scene that comes to mind, or rooster, whatever it was. But the kids are going to love that. They're just going to think that is so great, and it does have a funny outcome. But what really struck me, and it wasn't until I think I was done with the book, and maybe read that at the end, but you drew on your family situations, like, this is through a lifetime and things that happened to other family members, but you packed in this one book a lot of things that actually happened to you or someone you knew in your family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say this book, I write better when I write from experiences. So, that opening half of the book where grandma's in town and she's teaching Evie what is homeopathy? A lot of people think homeopathy is synonymous with essential oils, herbs, those kinds of things, those natural medicine things that are wonderful. But actually homeopathy is its own system of medicine, and it has its own methods and rules and everything. And so grandma kind of teaches her a little bit about natural medicine in general, and then they slip into homeopathy. And that is very much kind of my journey that grandma is like a hybrid of me and my mother-in-law, who we both like natural medicine. I learned a lot from her and she has from me. And then the second half of the book takes you, she leaves, Christmas is over, New Year's is over, and Grandma Annette goes home. And then the second half of the book is when Grandpa Levi comes. He's a Brazilian grandpa, just like my father. And they're actually, all the stories he shares are real stories from his childhood. So the rooster story you referenced is 100% real. And my dad, it's so interesting. He was treated by a homeopathic doctor when he was a child. I mean, he just always thought he was the doctor, but we realized later that he was a homeopathic doctor. And so my dad did have homeopathy in his life. And of course, to write a story like this, a book like this, you have to, change the facts and change the names to protect the innocent. But in general, a lot of those stories are real. He did have a crazy rooster in the backyard, and and his brother did accidentally light his mother's clothesline on fire, so there's great stories in there. And the way that we use these stories is I turn them into ending with an injury, and then learning about a new homeopathic medicine for each of those scenarios. So it's just a series of short stories at the end that teach each of those important homeopathic medicines for injury.
Right. And so using a literature-based curriculum is so wonderful. So share with us, okay, first you have a Facebook group, and we'll have those links. So share where they can find you on Facebook as well as your website.
Okay, so I'm from Brazil, like I said. So my first name is, it's like Paula, but the U is an O, Paola. So P like Paul, A-O-L-A, Paola. Brown's apostrophe S, so the color brown apostrophe S, homeopathy. So Paola Brown's Homeopathy. That's me on Facebook, and I really love to keep it real there. I love to share just great tips and great stories. I was telling you, I think at the last show, that my son, back in February 2020, he accidentally exploded a firework in my living room, and it was a big firework. I mean, bang, big bang. It's the kind that go up in the sky. I mean, it could have been so dangerous for him, but he burnt his hand pretty good. But other than that, he was okay. And I do a little slideshow where I share what homeopathic medicines we used, what we did immediately, what we did over the next week. So definitely follow me on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram, Paola Brown's Homeopathy, same thing. And then my website is paolabrown.com, and for sure sign up for my emails, because I know homeschoolers are always looking for a deal on curriculum, and so I do like to do those. I will be doing those periodically. So
wonderful. Well, it has been a pleasure to have you on, and hopefully you'll be back again to teach us some more and, share with us some of your, your ideas for teaching, because this is going to be something, parents, that you're going to be teaching your kids a legacy. I know, when you were talking about the reluctant dad, that was my husband until he was introduced to arnica. And when he mentioned it to one of his best friends, who happens to be an orthopedic surgeon, a family friend of ours, and actually has done some of my husband's surgeries, he said, well, of course you can use arnica. That's a great, remedy. And so he knew of it. He also is from Cuba, and so, again, familiar with it. And I think sometimes, when, like you mentioned, when you come over to this country, you forget some of the things that were so effective, but they really do work. And so my husband's, a big-time believer now, and, the different things have worked so well for us.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. I'm so glad you brought up arnica because I think a lot of people who are not familiar with homeopathy, they're going to know arnica. I like to joke that arnica is
Right.
like the cool kid, class president of the high school, of all the remedies. Everybody knows arnica. So it's the first remedy that I teach when Grandpa Levi comes into town. And I really tried making this accessible. So like you said, there's the audio version. And there's also the music. I have a series of songs that help you memorize each of the individual remedies. And they're so, so fun. And just quick little, jingles to help you learn the keynotes to each remedy. So the way homeopathy basically works, maybe your readers don't know, is you select the remedy based on the symptoms of the person. So if you have a fever and you're red, you're hot, you're throbbing, or if you have a headache and your face is red and your head is throbbing and you get that pounding, that's typical for belladonna. Or arnica is bruising, So if you just learn those keynotes, then you know which remedy to grab in those kind of acute situations. And that's what those songs teach. And that's what you walk out of my curriculum knowing is quite a lot about homeopathy, how to run with it, and how to pass it on to your family. So
That's so wonderful. So wonderful. So guys, we'll have all of the links to Paola's websites and everything on the show notes. So go to vintagehomeschoolmoms.com and look for Teach Me Health and Homeopathy, and you will, sorry, that's your curriculum. Hold on a second. So go to vintagehomeschoolmoms.com and you'll find the show notes for today's episode with all of Paola's links to her Facebook, Instagram, and her website. And look for a new literature-based curriculum on natural health, and you'll find out more about that as well as the show notes for today's episode. Thank you so much, Paola. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. 2019 is when we actually started, I started working on the curriculum with you, and it has been such a pleasure and a blessing to work with you. So thank you so much for bringing this much-needed resource to the homeschool community.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really, really enjoyed working with you. Your help on my on that literature part of my curriculum, the Evie and the Secret of Small Things, has been just so integral. You are a gifted editor, so thank you so much for all your help. It's a pleasure.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you. All right. Take care, everyone, and God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.
I'm a publisher, and one day my daughter Christina asked me to write a novel with her. Well, that day was long ago, and that little girl is now an adult. But our novels live on. The Truth Seekers Mystery Series highlights a homeschool family, the Murphy teens, in an action-adventure novel that is sure to entertain as well as teach creation truths. To get your copy, visit our website at truthseekersmysteryseries.com.